In this video, I will show you how to automatically create Salesforce case from Google Sheets directly. So assume that I have added lot of customer queries, feedbacks or issues into the Google Sheets, which I would like to export and then import it here into the Salesforce as cases so that my support team can easily access those cases and can easily solve those issues and queries directly from Salesforce itself. Now copying the issues and query data and then importing here manually one by one is a time consuming task. So in this video I will teach you how you can entirely automate this process. So what will happen, whenever you add a new query here, the same query will be created as a case into the Salesforce automatically. Do you also want to set this automation for yourself? Then come with me and I will show you everything step by step. So this is my spreadsheet and this is Salesforce dashboard, and to automate this process I'll have to build an integration in Google Sheets and Salesforce, and I am going to integrate both the application with the Pabbly Connect, which is an integration and automation software, and I'm an existing user, so I am already logged in. You can also create your free account in Pabbly Connect in just 2 minutes from this sign up free button, and in the free account you will also get free task to test this automation. Now once you will reach to the dashboard, click on this blue button firstly, that is create workflow, and provide any random name to your workflow, to your automation. I have pasted the name as automatically create Salesforce case from Google Sheets. Okay, now click on create and then you will notice 2 boxes. Okay, so these are called as trigger and action, and here the trigger means when this happens, an action means do this. So whenever this happens, then automatically do this. Try to understand with an example also. Let's say whenever a sale happen in a payment gateway application, then automatically send an email via Gmail application to your customers. Okay, so this is how you need to always select the applications in which you are building an automation. Okay, and here according to our use case, whenever any new query or an issue is added into the Google Sheets application, automatically create a case of that query into the Salesforce application. Okay, so this is how you need to always select the applications generally in which you are building an automation. Okay, so here I am going to connect to both the applications one by one with the Pabbly Connect. Okay, so firstly I will select the trigger event, that is new or updated spreadsheet row. Now as soon as I selected the trigger event, you will notice that a webhook URL and few set of instructions will be received. Okay, so with the help of this webhook URL only, I'm going to connect my spreadsheet with the Pabbly Connect and going to capture this data into the Pabbly Connect. Okay, and again instruction for the same are already given here. So copy this webhook URL, go back to your spreadsheet, click on this extension, click on add-ons, click on get add-ons, and here search for the Pabbly Connect webhooks add-on. Alright, so I'm searching for the same, that is Pabbly Connect webhooks add-on. Okay, so this is the add-on which is already installed into my account because I have already installed it, I have already built the connection. But make sure if you are building this connection for the first time, you will always have to install this add-on, and after installing this add-on, after installing this add-on, click on this extension once again, and then you can find the same add-on here, that is Pabbly Connect webhooks. Okay, click on initial setup, and here exactly I am going to paste the same webhook URL which I have received from Pabbly Connect. Okay, so coming back here, let me copy the same URL, coming to the spreadsheet now, let me paste the same, and now it is asking the trigger column. Okay, so firstly we will read the instruction. The trigger column will be your final data column on which if the data is added, the whole of that row data will be sent to the webhook URL. Okay, so basically it is asking to specify a column name on filling of which this automation should trigger, or we can say the data of this spreadsheet should be sent to Pabbly Connect. Okay, so here my data will goes up to E column, so that is why I am going to add E as the trigger column. I'm sorry for that. And now here you will notice that Pabbly Connect is actually waiting for the webhook response. Okay, so as soon as I click on that send test button, you will notice that the first row data data of this spreadsheet will be sent to the Pabbly Connect. Here you can notice the test data sent successfully. Clicking on this submit button, and here setup configured successfully, clicking on close, and now when I will come back to Pabbly Connect, you will see that the response is received. Okay, and if I will show you the response one by one, it is the same data, the spreadsheet data, that is the trigger column. We have the same spreadsheet name, that is all customer issues. We even have the row index, that is second row. Yes, we have received the second row data, and the name of the customer was dummy customer. This was the phone number, this was the email, and the query was about bought a watch. Okay, so let us check whether we have received the same data or not. And yes, the same phone number, the same last name, the same query about a watch, the first name and the customer email. Okay, so the presence of this data clearly shows that the connection in this spreadsheet and Pabbly Connect is working absolutely fine. Okay, and now onwards, every time you will add the new data into the spreadsheet, those details will be captured via Pabbly Connect automatically and immediately, because this trigger will instantly capture the new incoming data and the workflow execution will start in real time. But for that, you will have to enable one more very important settings, that is click on this extension, come back to this Pabbly Connect webhooks add-on option, and then enable this send on event option. When you will enable this option, this will ensure that every time a new data is added here, that data will send to Pabbly Connect automatically. Send on event, basically on happening of any new event, send this data, that is send on event. All right, the option is enabled. And let me tell you one more very important thing: whenever you are working with the Google Sheets and Pabbly Connect, make sure that either you work into the incognito window or multiple Gmail accounts should not be logged in at the same time into the same tab. I am repeating this again: either work into the incognito window or multiple Gmail accounts should not be logged in the same tab. Okay, now coming back to Pabbly Connect dashboard, and the first step of our automation is done. Now I want to send this issue data to my Salesforce, but here we have a very interesting twist. Okay, so whatever the query we are about to create, that query could be of a new user or as well as of an existing user. Okay, so I'll have to build two scenarios here. Okay, if the query is from the existing customer, in that case, that case should be created into the Salesforce immediately and automatically. But if that query is coming from a new customer completely, basically that email ID is unique, in that case we are going to firstly create a customer into the Salesforce, and then we are going to create a case into the Salesforce. Okay, now to do that, firstly I'll have to check whether this customer is an existing customer or not. So how we are going to check it? You'll have to search for the Salesforce application, and in the action event we are going to search for the record. Okay, select the same, click on connect, and connect your Salesforce account with the Pabbly Connect by clicking on this button, and then it will ask you the access of Salesforce, but I am already logged into the Salesforce account. Okay, so it is asking me for the permission directly. Okay, so I have clicked on allow, and this is how the authorization will be successful, and my Salesforce account will be immediately connected with the Pabbly Connect. Alright, here you can notice it is connected. Now it is asking the Salesforce object, on which particular object you would like to work upon. Okay, so here firstly I am going to search for the contact, whether this contact is a new or an existing customer or an existing contact. Okay, so that is why I have selected contact here. Now it is asking that field to search by. Okay, via which particular field you would like to search the contact. Okay, so here I just have the email address and the first name and the last name, but these two things, that is the first name and last name, cannot be unique always, but the email address is something which will always be unique. Okay, so I am going to do this search with the help of email ID only. Okay, so here firstly I will search for the email only, then it is asking that in return what value you want, whether you want the name of this particular record, whether you want the first name, the ID, the last name. Okay, so I want the ID of that customer. Okay, so when I will receive that ID, based on that ID I am going to check if that ID already exists into the Salesforce. In that case I will understand that the customer is already exist, but if that ID is not exist, in that case I am going to create a new customer first, and then I will create a case for that new customer. Okay, asking for the search value, as I have told you that we are going to do this search with the help of email. So here exactly I am going to provide the email address of the customer, and the interesting thing is I don't need to manually copy the email address from the above data and paste it here. Okay, I'm going to map this data, map this email ID, and mapping is very simple inside Pabbly Connect. Click on this field and you will find the above data here. In the drop down, search for your data, that is email address, and now I am going to directly click on this button, and then I will see in the response whether this contact is already exist, this email ID is already exist or not. And here you can notice that in the response we have received the ID of the record. That means this customer is already exist, so I can directly create a case for that customer. Okay, let me show you where is the customer. Alright, here you can notice this dummy customer. Let me even open that customer details and check for the email address. Okay, here you can notice desk@pabblytudes.com, and yes, it is the same email address. So that is why in the response it has given me the ID of that contact. Okay, so again in front of us we have two cases. One, whenever the customer ID, the contact ID is already exist, and when the customer ID, the contact ID does not exist. Okay, so how I am going to build these two scenarios? Well, with the help of router, which is an amazing feature of Pabbly Connect, via which you can apply different kind of conditions. Okay, basically we can apply that if the condition is true, if the first condition is true, what should happen, if the second condition is true, what should happen. And this is how you can add as many as condition as you want, basically as many as router step as you want. Okay, so firstly I am going to rename those steps, and here I will write something like when the contact ID exist. Okay, when contact ID exists, that means the customer is already exist. Okay, in that case this step will be executed. Okay, so firstly how it is going to check that the contact ID is exist or not. Okay, so here exactly in this filter only we are going to set this condition. How? Firstly you will have to open the step. Well, you must be thinking what is this data, from where this data is actually coming from. Well, these are the same data, the above two steps data. Okay, simply select that value, that is the ID. Okay, and if that ID exists, okay, so let me select the filter type as exist, and I will be clicking on this button, and this time in the response of course you will see that the condition is going to be true, because whatever the case we have built just now, in that case we have the customer ID. Okay, basically in the Salesforce step we have searched for the customer and we have found that customer, so that is why the condition is true. Now whenever the customer, the contact is already exist, what should be done? What should be the next step? So basically it should create the case for this existing customer immediately. Okay, so that is why again I will be searching for the Salesforce only, because I am about to create a case into the Salesforce. And this time in the action event, instead of searching for the search record, I am going to select this create record. Okay, and clicking on connect, and this time I will go with the existing connection because I have provided the connection into the previous step also. Okay, and this is how once again Salesforce will be connected with the Pabbly Connect. Alright, so it is connected, and now again it is asking that what should be the Salesforce object. So in this particular case I am about to create a case, so the object is going to be the case only, asking for several details. Okay, it will ask you several details. Okay, I'll have to wait for that. And here you can notice it is loaded, and it is asking for the account ID, the contact ID, the asset ID, the case source ID, and several other details. Okay, so here I am going to provide the data only into the important fields like the contact ID and the case name and the case description. Okay, so from where I can provide this contact ID? Remember, we have just fetched the ID from this search record Salesforce step, and in the response we have received this ID which I have mapped. Okay, now you must be thinking that what is this mapping which I am repeating again and again. Okay, so whatever the details you are going to map here, these details will be replaced automatically when this automation will work in real time. I am repeating this again. Whatever the details you will map here, these details will be replaced automatically when this automation will work in next time in real time. Now it is asking for the subject and the description of your case. Okay, so remember we have already received the description from the Google Sheets data. Let me even show you that this is the issue, this is the query of which I am about to create a case. So I am going to map that issue. Okay, so I have mapped it, and now it is also asking for, and now it is also asking for the subject of the case. Okay, so I have not received any subject related data. So what I can do is I can manually type the subject here, something like new query received from Google Sheets, or I can also write fetched from Google Sheets. Okay, fetched from Google Sheets, or how about I write new query or a case. Okay, so I think it is looking good. Now I am going to directly click on this button, and then I will wait for the response to be received here. And once the response is received, which means here you can notice it is saying success and 1, which means the case has been created. Let us check the cases section of the Salesforce and check whether the case has been created or not. And here you can notice the case number and with the same subject, and we even have the date and time. Okay, let me open this particular case. Alright, so this is our case. This is the description. Bought a watch from your store but it's not working. How to raise a refund? Kindly reply as soon as possible. And here we have the customer details also. Okay, so the presence of this data clearly shows that this step of our automation is working absolutely fine. And now my support team can easily handle the cases, the queries of these customers. Okay, so this was the case of whenever the customer is already exist. Okay, let me click on this save, and firstly I am going to close this first router step. And now what should happen when the customer is not exist? Okay, in that case we are going to first create the customer and then we will create a case for that customer. Okay, so how we are going to do that? Firstly I am going to rename it. So I have copied this text, clicking on this 3 dot, clicking on rename. Let me paste the same, and when the contact ID does not exist, okay, does not exist, I hope it is looking good, and clicking on update, and the step has been renamed. But instead of doing everything from the scratch, I have one more interesting option here, that is this clone feature. Yes, as soon as you click on this clone button, the same step which we have just created, it will be cloned automatically. Here you can notice the clone of that particular step. So if you will clone your above step, in that case you do not have to do everything from scratch. Okay, so let me show you how you can do that. Firstly I'm going to rename it, clicking on update, and then I am going to set the filter and action step, and here you will notice that all the fields are already selected. So here I just need to make a few changes. So I want that whenever the contact ID does not exist, this step should be executed. Okay, and if I want that this step should be executed, in that case this condition is going to be true. Okay, so how I can make this condition to be true? Okay, so I'll have to change this filter type as does not exist. Okay, so whenever contact will not find, contact ID does not exist, this condition is going to be true, and further it should create a contact into the Salesforce, and further it should create a case into the Salesforce. Okay, but this time you will notice that condition is false. Now why this condition is false? Because currently we are taking the case of this particular customer, and this customer is already exist. Okay, so how about we take the details of that customer who is already not present? Okay, so how about I check this help@pabblytools.com and this test customer. Well, as far as I know, this customer is already not exist into the Salesforce. Okay, so what I can do is I can click on this recapture webhook response button once again. Okay, let me click on that button, and then I'm going to capture the data of this particular person. Okay, so how I can do that? Firstly let me delete this data, and remember we have clearly mentioned here into our trigger step that whenever the data will go up to, okay, I'm sorry for that, let me first copy the whole data and then I'm going to delete this data. And remember, we have clearly mentioned here that whenever the data will go up to E column, this automation should trigger. Okay, so I am going to build the same scenario. Basically, I am going to paste this data here, and then I am going to press enter after the E column, basically in the E column. And when I will come back to Pabbly Connect dashboard, you will notice that the row 3rd data will be fetched here. Okay, so let us check which particular email ID we have fetched. Okay, so we have fetched this help@pabblytools.com, and the name of the customer is test customer, and this is the phone number. Let us check the same data into the Pabbly Connect dashboard, and yes, we do have the last name as customer only. We do have the same phone number, the same issue, the same first name, and the same customer email ID. And now I am going to map this particular data, this particular email ID. Okay, so let us first search this particular record. Okay, so I'm going to search this particular email ID into the search record. Okay, so let me remove this existing ID first. Okay, and then I'm going to map that new ID. Okay, so we have this help@pabblytools.com, and yes, we do have this help@pabblytools.com. Clicking on this button, save and send test request, and here in the response I am expecting that this will be blank. Basically the search record ID will be blank, and yes, here you can notice that the ID is blank. So what will happen in this case? Our second step will be executed. Okay, so clicking on the set filter and action step. Okay, and let us make this condition to be true. Okay, so here I am going to select the search record ID. Alright, it should not exist. Clicking on this button, save and send test request, and you will notice that the condition will be true. Okay, waiting for the response to be received. Alright, and yes, because any contact ID, the search ID does not exist, this condition is true. And whenever the contact ID does not exist, that means our customer is not exist. So what will happen? We are going to create this customer as a new customer. Okay, so searching for the Salesforce once again, and in the action event we will search for the create a record. Okay, connecting Salesforce with the Pabbly Connect once again, clicking on save, and now in the Salesforce object I will search for the contact first, because this time I would like to create a contact, and once the contact will be created, I will immediately create a case for this contact. Okay, alright, it is selected. Now I am going to provide the data only into the important fields like the first name and the last name. Okay, so let me map the details one by one. That is, last name is going to be the customer, first name is going to be the test. Okay, let us check where is the first name. Alright, so I have mapped it, and now I am going to map the phone number and the email address only. Okay, so here we have the phone number field. Let me also map this. And lastly, I am going to map the most important thing, that is email ID, which is actually a required thing, in order to create a contact. Okay, now I'll be clicking on this button in front of you, and you will notice that a contact will be created immediately to the Salesforce. Alright, waiting for the response to be received. And yes, the response is received. Let us go back to the contact section of Pabbly Connect and wait for that test customer to be created. And here you can notice that the test customer is created. If I will open this contact in front of you, you will notice that the same email address and the same phone number. Now coming back to Pabbly Connect dashboard, I'm sorry why it is taking time. Alright, so this is the dashboard of Pabbly Connect. Now I just need to create a case for this customer. Okay, now let me first map the contact ID of the new customer, okay, which I can fetch from which particular step. Okay, let me show you. Remember, we have just created a customer into the Salesforce. Okay, this is the create record step, and this is the ID which I have mapped. Now I just need to provide the description and the subject to my case. Okay, so the subject is already provided. Asking for the description, again this field is already mapped, so I will be directly clicking on this button, save and send test request, and this time you will notice that this particular query will be created. Okay, so coming back to the cases section of my Salesforce, let me refresh it, and remember I have clearly shown you this case number, and here you can notice a new case has been created. If I will open that case, you will notice that a completely new description, that is I'm trying to reach out to your team, but nobody nobody is responding. I'm sorry for the spelling. All right, here you can notice I am trying to reach out, and help@pabblytudes.com, it is the same customer. If I will show you, and you can notice the same customer here, you can notice the same email ID, that is help@pabblytudes.com. okay, so the presence of this data into the Salesforce clearly shows that our second step is also working absolutely fine, the second router step. And now I am going to add one more data here in front of you, and you will notice that how in real time automatically how this automation is going to take place. Okay, clicking on close, and I think I have done everything correct here. Okay, now I am going to add the data of one more person here, and assume that this customer does not exist already into the Salesforce. Okay, so here I am going to add a completely new unique email address, something like abcde@gmail.com. Assume that this is the name of the customer. Here I will also provide the name of the customers, that is abcde, and in the last name I will provide user. Let me also provide a dummy phone number. And here I am going to add some problem, that I have purchased earphone and one piece is not working, it should be not working, kindly help. Okay, pressing enter, and then I will wait for the response. Basically I will wait for the case to be created, and I will wait for the contact to be created into the Salesforce, that too automatically. And here you can notice as soon as I have clicked on contact section, I can find that new customer. Let us come back to the cases section and check whether a new case has been generated or not. And here you can notice 41, a new case number, a new customer, and a new query, a new case has been created. Okay, so this is how this automation is going to take place in real time automatically, based on the condition, based on the email address. If that email address is already exists, in that case only a case will be created directly. If that email address does not exist already, then the customer as well as case both will be created automatically. And to automate this process, you need to create this automation inside Pabbly Connect just once, and after that you can sit back and relax, because Pabbly Connect will take care of all the tasks in the backend. You do not have to do anything manually. And just in case if you want to access this automation inside your Pabbly Connect account, I will also attach this link into my description box. You just need to click on this link and sign up into the Pabbly Connect, and then you will be able to access this workflow, this automation inside your Pabbly Connect account, that too for free. Not just these applications, you can integrate multiple applications and automate your business with Pabbly Connect. You can ask your queries at forum.pabbly.com. My team will surely answer to your questions. This is the website of Pabbly Connect, and for the latest updates of Pabbly Connect and unique automation ideas, you can join our Facebook group, that is formget.deals. If you have found this video helpful in any way, share it with your friends and colleagues, and also help them to automate their business. Like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video.